Okay.
Well,
You see Erica?
I guess we'll start right. Do I see
Erica's
Erica?
waving.
Oh,
Can you see her?
Hello.
oh, there she is. All right. No, sorry, I didn't see you. That's the downside about my phone. It's like I'll only be able to see one person at a time, which is really strange. Hey, look at everybody now. I figured out Zoom. It's only been like a year and a half. Cool. Everybody's really small, but I'm good with that. Well, thanks, guys. Thanks for coming to 7 a.m. yoga on a Thursday morning. It's awesome to have you guys here. I was just asking Robin if there was anything she wanted to focus on or avoid like the plague or anything.
Nothing for me. I'm good.
Erica, is there anything that you want to do today?
Nothing in particular.
Okay. Sounds
Your piece
good.
Sounds good.
Gotcha. Because I was like, wait a minute, you guys want to do nothing? This is going to be the best yoga class ever. We'll just sit here. No.
Child's
We'll start
pose.
in seated. Right. Child's pose for 60 minutes. I mean, hey, some people need that. I'm not knocking it. But yeah, I think I'm ready to move a little bit. So we'll start in seated, and here you could be however you want to be. I'm in hero's pose with my butt on a block, but you can be crisscross applesauce or legs out in front of you, whatever works. And we'll start with a few neck stretches. And actually, let's roll out our necks a little bit first. So drop your chin to your chest and then gently roll it over to the side so that you're bringing your gaze to your right shoulder. And then drop your chin to your chest again and gaze at your left shoulder. You can go back and forth a few times, always bringing your chin to your chest when you come through center. And then back to the middle, let your head float back up. And now we'll take a little neck stretch. So you can reach your fingertips out to your sides, down towards the mat. You may or may not touch, but reach down through your fingertips so that your shoulders are dropping away from your ears. And then reach your right ear towards your right shoulder so that you're creating space in the left side of your neck. Bring your head back up to center and over to the other side. Your left ear is coming towards your left shoulder. At the same time, both your shoulders are dropping down, sliding down the back. Your head comes back up to center once again. You could take a few shoulder rolls if that feels good. Rolling them back, rolling them forward. And then shrug your shoulders up into your ears really tight. And release them down. Maybe one more time, scrunch them up really good. And release. Just letting the shoulders fall away from the ears. And we're going to take some torso circles. I need to readjust my feet here a little bit, so feel free to adjust as needed. But leading with your heart and letting the movement stem from the bottom of your torso, from your hips, really. Start to make some circles. You can make them as big or as small as you want. And then take your circles in the opposite direction. You can bring your shoulders into it a little bit if that feels good. And then come back to center. And we'll move into child's pose. So if it's okay on your knees, you can rock forward, uncross your ankles, bring your big toes to touch. Another way to get there would be to come over onto your hip, swing your legs out in front of you. As long as you get your knees wide and your big toes touching, then you can send your hips back to your heels and slide your arms forward. You can rest your head on the mat, or you can rest it on a blanket or a pillow or a rolled up towel. Sometimes that can take some of the tension out of your neck if your forehead doesn't quite meet the mat. This makes a good resting place. And while you're in child's pose, start to check in with your body. See if you happen to notice any areas of tension or pain. Just so that you're aware, so that you know that they're there. And likewise, check in with your breath. If you wanted to adopt an Ujjayi breath with even inhales and exhales through the nose, you could, but in a gentle class, there's really no need to force a change in the breath. So maybe you just want to check in with yourself and see what your breathing feels like, if it's getting caught on any of the areas of tension. And then also take this first child's pose to bring some stillness to the mind. If you have a lot of mind chatter or the constant thoughts about your to-do list, getting through your day, instead of trying to clear those thoughts, acknowledge them. You know, you're thinking those thoughts for a reason. But say, okay, I know you're there. You'll be waiting for me when I get off my mat, but I don't need to pay attention right now. So you can set those thoughts aside. And from your child's pose, without lifting up, we're going to take a side stretch, just a little baby side stretch, by walking our hands over to the right side. And melting your heart towards the ground. And over to the left side. Walk your hands back to center one last time. Take the fullest expression of your child's pose. And then slide your hands back under your shoulders. We'll come into a tabletop position. So your knees are stacked under your hips and your shoulders are stacked over your wrists with a flat back. And we'll move through some cat-cows. Like I said, there's not a need to force a change in your breath, but if you want to start to connect your breath with your movement, you can inhale as you drop your belly, lift your tailbone, lift your gaze, and exhale as you round your spine. Release your head and neck to let them hang loose. And inhale to a cow again. As you do, lift your gaze and your tailbone. See if you can draw your shoulders back away from your ears, squeezing the shoulder blades together. And round your spine. Pull your belly button up into your spine a little bit to increase that arch. And move through one more full cycle with your breath. Inhaling to cat, exhaling to cat. And then take whatever other organic movements are calling out to you. If you're feeling like you need some side to side, or maybe hinging back and forth to warm up those shoulders a little bit more. Maybe warm up the wrists a little bit here. And you can warm up the wrists by doing this hinging forward motion. You can also rotate your hands so that your fingertips are pointing away from each other, outwards. And you can take a little side to side movement. And if you did get deep into the wrists there, you can flip your hands over with the backs of your hands to the ground and your fingertips pointing towards you. Take very gentle hinging motions. And then shake out your hands a little bit if you did get into the wrists. And we'll come back to a neutral tabletop. And our next pose is thread the needle. If the twist feels a little extreme for you, you might want to adjust it. You can always put props like blocks or blankets under your shoulder and things like that. But if you'd like to do a thread the needle, shift your weight into your left palm, spread your fingers wide and press them into the mat. Inhale your right arm up overhead. Exhale, slide it through under your left armpit, and you can drop that shoulder all the way to the ground, or you can stay lifted if this is enough of a twist for you. And if you do have your shoulder and your cheek all the way on the ground, you also have the option to slide that left hand forward as you would in child's pose, or you can bring that left hand behind your back and tuck it into your right hip crease, taking a half bind. And sometimes this helps open up the shoulder a little bit. If that's a sensation that you're going for. And bring your left hand under your shoulder. Press yourself up. Reach the right hand up towards the ceiling. Release it down to the mat. And we'll set up for the other side. So this time, shift your weight into your right palm. Inhale your left arm up. Exhale, slide it through under the right armpit. Find your comfort level on this side because it might be a little bit different than the other side. So prop that shoulder if you need to. Take the half bind if you like. And slide your right hand under your shoulder. Press yourself up. Reach high to the ceiling with your left hand before setting it down. Move out anything else that needs to be moved. And from our tabletop, we're going to come to a kneeling crescent. So step your right foot between your hands. If it doesn't quite reach, you can scooch it up there so that your knee is right over your ankle. And I usually like to leave my back toes tucked for some extra stability, but you always have the option to drop the top of that foot down to the mat. And once you're feeling pretty stable, you can rise on up, maybe bringing your hands to the thigh before you come all the way up with your arms overhead. And take a minute to square your hips to the front of the mat. If your left hip is pulling backwards and opening the hips, pull it forward. And then we'll take a little twist, opening up to the right side. So your right arm comes back, left arm comes forward. And then start to untwist, return your arms back up overhead. And I'm going to flip around so that you can see me. So we just twisted towards our front leg, back to center, and now we're going to open up to our left side. So your left arm comes back, right arm comes forward for a little counter twist. And you can let the hips start to open up a little bit here, because that left hip will want to pull back. And drop the shoulders away from the ears again, if they're creeping up there. On your next inhale, reach forward and then tip over into a modified side angle. So bring your left arm up overhead, and you can rest your right forearm on your right thigh, or you can reach those fingertips down towards the mat. And if your left arm is getting a little bit tired of staying up, you can bring that down behind you in a half bind. Whether you're in the bind or your arm is lifted, draw the left shoulder back to open the chest to the side wall. And if you are taking a half bind, bring your arm back up overhead. Let that arm pull you up and over for reverse warrior. Still from our kneeling crescent. And then set both hands down, framing your front foot. Send your front foot back, and you can stretch it out, shake it out, make some hip circles if you want, before setting it down. And we'll move to the other side. So this time your left foot comes between your hands. Set it up so that you feel stable. Maybe bringing your hands to your thighs as you come up. Square your hips, pulling that right hip forward if you need to, and reach your arms up overhead. We're going to twist towards our front leg, which is our left leg now. So your left arm comes back, right arm comes forward. And listen to your body on these twists. You know, for me, my left arm is not in line with my mat or my legs whatsoever. I'm all kinds of wonky looking, and that's okay, because I'm going for the energetic sensation of opening my chest, dropping my shoulders down, and moving into that twist at my threshold. more breath here. And then bring your arms up overhead as you twist back to center. And then open to the other side. Right arm comes back, left arm comes forward. You can let your hips slide open a little bit if you want to. And then reach forward, tip over into an extended side angle. Option for half bind. Option to reach the left fingertips down to the mat if you want, or keep that forearm on your thigh gently. And bring your right arm back up overhead. Let it pull you up and over as it slides behind you. Your left arm comes up overhead. And then return your hands back to the mat. Frame your front foot. Send your front foot back. Shake it out, stretch it out. Hip circles if you want. And then we'll return to child's pose for a moment. You can also grab some water if you want. This is a good point to rest and reset. Maybe take the opportunity to check in with your breath again. Just see if anything's changed about it. Or maybe you just let it slip back into a more natural rhythm. And from your child's pose, and press back up through tabletop and come to standing on your knees. So bring your knees hip width apart so that you feel pretty solid. Again, I like to keep my toes tucked just so I've got a good grip on the mat. And we'll move into gate pose. So for gate pose, sometimes it does help to have either props or furniture to use for balance. But from standing on your knees, shift weight into your left knee so that you can pick up your right foot and straighten that leg out to the side as much as you can. And most people won't get their feet, your foot flat on the mat. That's okay. You can kind of be up on the edge as long as you're protecting your knee. If you feel okay here, you can stay here. If you would like to intensify a stretch in your inner thigh, or if you'd like to open up your side body, you can reach your arms up overhead and then reach over your extended right leg. And return back to center. Release your arms. Bend your right knee, shake out your leg a little, if you want to, as you bring it back in. And we'll switch sides, shifting weight into your right knee, extending your left. And I'm sorry, I forgot to mention, if you need some extra cushion under your knees, please put that under there. Keep the knees safe and happy. Once you have your left leg extended, you can choose to stay right here, or you can reach your arms overhead and then collapse over to the left side. And come back up to center. Release your hands down, bend your left knee, shake it out a little bit. Come back to center. And then we're going to come all the way up to standing. So my favorite way to come from here is just to step one foot forward like we did before, and then come up on my tippy toes, step the feet together. But you can come to standing however it works best for you. So everybody's got their way. So from standing, we're going to do a balance pose. And I know we do tree a lot, and tree is awesome, and I love tree, but I wanted to do something a little different. So I was going to give dancer a shot, if that sounds good. So for dancer, again, you can have a wall, have some furniture handy for balance, but root down through your left foot. Your left foot's going to be your standing leg. You might want to take some time to shift your weight back and forth to find that sweet spot in the middle. Spread your toes wide, set them down so you've got a good grip on the mat, and keep them like a little micro bend or even a bigger bend in that supporting knee so that it can stay fluid and adjust to changes in your balance. Once you have your weight in your left foot, keeping your knees parallel and in line, start to bend your right knee so that your right foot comes up behind you. At the same time, you can reach back with your right hand. If you happen to be able to touch your foot, awesome. If you can grab onto a heel or a toe, that's great. If you can grab onto pants leg, that's great too. Whatever you can grab onto. If you're not quite there yet, keep that energy. Keep reaching your fingertips back towards your foot. Keep your foot reaching up towards your hand. If you do have a good grasp on that foot, kick your foot into your hand at the same time that you're pulling your foot back towards you. You can reach out your left arm for balance in front of your face. And if this is already in your practice and you're like, I've got this, then you can go for a little bit more extension. Up until this point, your knees should be parallel. But if you're good with this, you're good right here, you can start to kick the foot into your hand even further and allow that knee to come out behind you as your weight shifts forward a little. And then return that leg to center. If you have a hold on the foot, release the foot. Let it come back down to the mat. Shake it out a little. We'll set up for dancer on the other side. So once you shift your weight into your right foot, root down through that foot, spread the toes wide, keep a micro bend in that supporting leg. And start to bend your left knee. Reach your left hand towards that foot. Keep reaching towards it if your fingertips aren't touching yet. If you do have a good hold on that foot, press the top of your foot into your hand. Pull that foot back towards you and reach the right arm out in front for balance. An option to move into the full extension of dancer if it's already something you're working on. And bring the knees back in line. Release the hand, release the foot back to the mat. And shake it out. And we'll come down to the mat. Back into seated with our legs out in front. And we'll come into half staff. So pick a leg, any leg. I usually have a tendency to start with my left, but whichever leg you pick, keep it out straight. And then draw your other foot to the inside of your straightened thigh. And then flex the toes, flex the foot of your straightened leg so that your toes are pointing straight up to the ceiling. For some people, this might be enough to get a pretty good sensation in the back of the leg and stretch out the hamstrings. For other people, you might want to fold forward in this pose. So if you want to fold forward, reach your hands up overhead, lead with your chest and hinge from your hips. So you're going with a fairly flat back until you can't fold anymore. Once you hit that point, then you can release your hands down to leg or the mat. And if it feels okay on your back, you can round your spine and release your head and neck. And for poses with longer holds, where my neck is unsupported, I like to build myself a little block tower, but really like you could do this with anything, pillows or towels or anything you have handy. And I just like to give my forehead a place to rest. That way I don't have the full weight of my head pulling on my neck in awkward ways. As you hold this pose, since this is a little bit of a longer hold, listen to your body, and if it tells you, oh, that was pretty good, but we're done now, feel free to ease out of this pose. If your body says, oh, it's been so long since we've done this, and this is good, this is helping, lean into that and come to the threshold of that pose where it's the fullest expression, the deepest that you can go and still have it be beneficial. You never want to go to the point of pain, but see if you can find that sweet spot, that Goldilocks spot where you're getting the most out of it. And usually after about a minute and a half, my body will tell me very clearly, you're done with this pose, or you can go a lot deeper. It's usually one or the other. And when you're ready, come very slowly and gently out of this pose by walking your fingertips back towards your torso to sit upright. And then release both legs out in front of you. Maybe shake them out a little bit or windshield wiper them back and forth. And then switch sides. So bring your opposite foot to the inside of your straightened thigh, the thigh of your straightened leg. And flex the foot of your straight leg so that your toes are pointing up at the ceiling. Sit up nice and tall, and then decide if you want to stay seated here or if you want to fold forward. And if you do fold forward, reach your hands up, lead with your heart, and then fold forward fully. I gotta build my little block tower for my forehead on this side too. Listen to your body and take the fullest expression of this half step. Fold. And then release back up to sitting, moving slowly, using your hands for support. Extend both legs again. Take whatever movement feels good. And then we'll move into cobbler's pose or butterfly. The soles of your feet will come together and your heels move in towards your body. And you can decide and take a little bit of time to play with the distance of your heels from your body. A lot of people try to get their heels as close to their body as possible, but I just find that it's a little bit different part of more of a diamond shape. So find your spot and just let gravity and the weight of your knees falling outward create the stretch. There's no need to press on the legs. In fact, if you feel that this is already an intense sensation, you can place blocks, blankets, pillows underneath your knees to make this a restore. As always, you've got the option to stay here or the option to fold forward, leading with your heart. And then releasing head and neck if that feels okay. And slowly start to come up, walking your hands back towards your torso. Use your hands to bring your knees together. You can extend them in front of you, windshield wiper one more time. And we'll make our way onto our backs. So again, there's multiple ways to get there. I like to bend my knees, grab my thighs, roll back like a roly-poly. But you can also roll onto your side, like the side of your hip, and swing your legs over to the side, extending one and then the other. However you want to get there is fine. We'll meet on our back. And then draw your right leg into your chest and give it a hug. And just kind of squeezing it a little bit, compressing the area of the hip crease. And then gently draw that knee across your body for a little supine twist. You can tee out your arms. If you don't have enough floor space, you can do cactus arms. And you can keep your gaze up to the ceiling, or you can look over to your left along with your knee if you want to keep this gentle. If you want to intensify the twist, you can gaze over towards your right shoulder. And it's okay if your toes are hanging out on the ground. It's okay if they're not. And again, just kind of let gravity do the stretching for you. And you can use your hands to bring that knee back up to center and then into your chest. One more little squeeze before you switch legs. Just slide the right leg all the way down the mat. And then draw your left knee into your chest. And give this knee a good hug. Draw it across your body. And tee out your arms or find the position that works for you on this side. Use your hands to bring that knee back to center. And give it one more good hug. And release it down to the mat. So you can find the pose that you want to spend your Shavasana in. You can take a traditional corpse pose with your legs extended out in front of you, feet fallen open, and arms down by your sides. You can bend your knees together if that feels better on your low back. Or you can rest your hands on your belly if you like. Take a minute to find your comfortable pose for Shavasana. You can get cozy if you need to grab a blanket or a pillow, because this is your time to rest, which is very important. I know a lot of us feel like, oh, we don't have time for that, or that's a waste of time because it's just being still. But don't underestimate the value of taking time to be still. This is also a time for your practice to sink in. And if you happen to notice any leftover areas of tension, imagine releasing them. Letting them roll off of your body and be absorbed by the earth. Start to deepen your breathing. Bring some movement into your fingers and your toes, starting small movements, and then extending that into your wrists and your ankles. All the way up your arms and your legs. When you feel ready, roll over onto your favorite side, drawing your knees up into your body a little bit, and maybe using your arm as a pillow. And moving very slowly in your own time, use your hands to push yourself up to seated. And if your eyes are still closed, you can keep them closed or you can flutter them open to let some light in. And I hope you both have an awesome Thursday. Thanks again for sharing your practice and doing yoga with me. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. See you later.
A good one.
You too.